Read this text. 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 Read this text.
Soon Mr. Moon will be shining bright, so the best day ever can last all night. Yeah, the best day ever's gonna last all night now. It's the best day ever.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Purple Husky Man, and welcome to SpongeBob's Flop 5. In this series, I'll be individually reviewing my least favorite SpongeBob episodes. Now we're at number 4, Yours, Mine, and Mine. The premise: Patrick can't pay for his Krabby Kitty meal, so SpongeBob pays for it. He said that they'll share it. But we'll get to that later. Then Patrick's upset there's no toy, so Mr. Krabs creates a toy out of a Krabby Patty with pickle eyes, ketchup smile, fries, and I can't remember what the feet are. Maybe they're fries too. And calls it a toy. So SpongeBob gets in and names it Patty Pal. However, Patrick wants the toy too, and so they fight over whose turn it is when. La 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 la. Hilarity ensues, except it doesn't, because this episode's terrible. Here are a couple of my problems with this episode. It's boring. It is, minus the beginning of this episode, which has a couple of gags. I literally can't recall any humor. And look, I know I said that about Choir Boys too, but then afterwards I saw it on TV again, and you know, it wasn't. I noticed that there were a couple of moments where it was actually trying to be funny, but this, it's not at all. Like, it's just most of the episodes, SpongeBob and Patrick fighting, which can usually be funny. I mean, take a look at Naughty Nautical Neighbors or something like that. When they fight there, it's funny, but for some reason here it really fell flat and was really boring. Another complaint: Patrick is a full-on jerk in this episode. There's no better way to describe him. Now let's talk about I'm with stupid, okay? In this episode, SpongeBob tries to act dumb in front of Patrick's parents, so in order that they'll think Patrick is the smart one. And then Patrick actually starts to believe that SpongeBob is the dumb one, and him himself is the smart one. But why don't I have a problem with that episode? Because obviously Patrick's a jerk there. Here's the thing: he's a jerk in that episode because of his own stupidity. His own stupidity is getting the better of him, and he's actually believing that SpongeBob is the dumb one, and he himself, Patrick, is the smart one. In this episode, he knows what he's doing is wrong, and he's doing it anyway, and that could work if he learns a lesson in the end, but he doesn't. And oh, the ending! We'll get there right now! In the end, to resolve this issue, Mr. Krabs gives SpongeBob and Patrick both their own toy. And so, I mean, they don't really learn anything about sharing, but at least it's kind of resolved. But then, of course, Mr. Krabs, being Mr. Krabs, he charges them for it. So SpongeBob gets out his wallet to pay, and then Patrick grabs some money from it to pay, and SpongeBob's like, Patrick, you can't just take from my wallet. And what does Patrick say to end the episode? Haven't you learned anything about sharing? Really? You couldn't give this the sincerest note of resolution, writers? You just had to have a little slap in the face? I'm in no word. Patrick used to be my 4th favorite character after Squidward, Plankton, and SpongeBob. After this episode, he's down at the bottom, man. I mean, this is terrible. He's a full-on jerk. There's no better way to describe him, and he knows that he's being a jerk. I mean, okay, the ending, it could be argued that that's because of his stupidity, but do you ever get the feeling that Patrick's almost self-aware of all the bad things he does? Like, in The Splinter, for example, you can't tell me that he didn't know that sucking SpongeBob's toe was wrong. I mean, really. Sometimes I think the writers just abuse Patrick's stupidity, and therefore it's no longer funny. All in all, not good, but definitely not the worst. Oh, we'll get there. Bye.
Are ya ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Aye, aye, Captain!
Oh! Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
Spongebob Squarepants!
Absorbent and yellow and porous is he.
Spongebob Squarepants!
If nautical nonsense be something you wish,
Spongebob Squarepants!
then drop on the deck and flop like a fish!
Spongebob Squarepants!
Ready?